भद्रं कर्णैभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us now pray together. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord, who is the origin of the universe. Lord, Thou abidest in all. Thou art all. Thou assumest all forms. Thou art the origin and goal of all. Thou art the self of all. Thou art existence, knowledge and bliss. Salutations unto Thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. We'll begin with the opening song. God is wisdom, God is love. Please join.
The path in which we rove, bliss He wakes and woe He lightens. God is wisdom, God is love. Chance and change are busy ever, man decays and ages move, but His mercy waneth never. God is wisdom, God is love. In the hour that darkest seemeth, will His changeless goodness prove. Through the gloom His brightness streameth. God is wisdom, God is love. He with earthly cares entwineth hope and comfort from above. Everywhere His glory shineth. God is wisdom, God is love.
who is perfect. This too is perfect. The perfect emerges from the perfect. When the perfect is taken out of the perfect, all that remains is also perfect. Om, peace, peace, peace. I was thinking of this topic for quite a few months, and somehow it was getting postponed. The ideas were not getting synchronized. But this topic I had with me for a long time, that it is reality and surreality. Let us go to see what these words really mean. For me, at least so far as the context of this talk goes on, reality means the sensory perception, cognition, using reason to connect the perceptions and make reasonable, verifiable predictions on the basis of that. It is something that we commonly share. That is, you see, reality. Like we all see these as chairs. No doubt about that. Yes, this is a chair. Nobody is likely to call, well, this is an elephant in the hall. We all will call them as chairs. Moreover, this is all human beings, more or less, will call them that as chair. Even if you take it in Japan and show to somebody, yeah, this is, they will use a Japanese word, but basically they will agree that this is that very thing. And this is real, because we certify, our senses certify that it is real. We can touch it, we see it, we touch it. When we hit it, we hear the sound of it. We can use it for the functions like we sit on it and so forth. There is a purpose for getting it manufactured. All these things indicate that it is real. So, all such perceptions that depend on the sensory input, hold on to that and do not deviate from that, that gets called as real. On the basis of that, one makes predictions too, which can be verified. I can tell anybody that, well, you sit there, there are so many vacant chairs. Today, in fact, there are far more than usually expected. But when I tell, okay, sit there, one goes to sit and then also certifies, yes, I could sit, it was a chair there, it was not an imagination, it was something real. All the scientific discoveries, they rely on this data that the senses bring to us. We join them together, use our reason to go and to make these things understand, and on the basis of that we make laws. Laws means something that is, we can predict what is going to happen, like the laws of gravitation. Well, you can predict that it is not that only if something is thrown by me, it will fall on the ground. Anybody can do that. Anything that is around here, and if somebody tries to jump from the high-rise building, he is going to fall on the ground. That is how the science works on these observations. They make specific experiments also to get those things done in a controlled environment, to get the exact predictions based on certain complex observations. So we see this happening. We see, for example, it's a very interesting example in chemistry, that we see all these different elements, different types of compounds from which the chemists, they try to extract the elements, basic elements, and then lots of them were getting discovered. Now there was a problem, was that were they just randomly they were having different properties, or was there some kind of a connection between them? And a Russian scientist in late 1800s was working on this. Is there a correlation? His name was Mendeleev. And then he came up with a law that is called periodic law. That he formed a table and showed a connection as to how the different properties of different elements, they are not just randomly varying. There is a connection with what at that time was known as the atomic weight. They change according to atomic weight. Later on, it was replaced by what is called atomic number. But whatever it may be, that it was amazing. This Mendeleev made these experiments with very primitive laboratory machinery available. You can't compare the laboratory in Russia of that time and our modern chemistry lab, say at Brown University. There is just huge heaven and hell difference between them. But still, he carried on that work with such diligence and came up with this periodic law. Now, the test of this periodic law's accuracy, that is what is important with the real world. That what we call real has this unmistakable property that when we connect the dots by collecting the data, then we can get something that can be predicted. And then what this Mendeleev predicted, he pointed out that there are some vacant spaces in that table. And he predicted that there would be found some elements which will be fitting exactly that description, that space. Those elements were not discovered then, but he predicted that there will be the elements that will fill in those positions exactly. And for sure, a few years passed and those elements got discovered. And that was the proof. I mean that yes, that law was real. It dealt with the real things which are verifiable, predictable, and they are also falsifiable. Falsifiable means if, suppose Mendeleev predicted these, this is the test that had been provided now. If such elements did not exist, did not come up, or certain things which came up but did not satisfy the predictions that the Mendeleev had made, then, this is the whole idea has been falsified. There is the test of falsifiability in science, which is very important. That it is, therefore, to the real world, all this becomes applicable. That whatever is real will be, we can scientifically deal with it. we can make predictions, we can connect them with laws, and then those laws can be relied upon to some extent. There were many laws or many scientific theories which were made, and most of them actually do not survive the test of time. They connected some dots, but certain dots were missed out. A theory again in chemistry. I was not much of a student of chemistry. This is just for this lecture, you say. So, but this is an idea, a theory that governed chemistry in just about 150 years ago. This was very current. It was called phlogiston principle, that when something burns, then with the flame, a principle goes out, something that goes out in the form of flame. It was called phlogiston, the flame principle. And that goes out. And therefore, when you are left with ash, like wood burns, ash is left. Now that ash was getting called as that wood without phlogiston. The phlogiston was taken out of it in the form of flame, as if something is going out. It was very current amongst chemists, and that yes, that principle phlogiston. But the whole thing got turned upside down when it was weighed that when you burn something, if you collect all the gases and everything, it turned out that it weighs more than what you put to flame. The weight was more. So nothing goes out, but actually something comes in and combines. So oxygen getting combined with the fuel, that is what is they call fire. Burning is that nothing goes out as such, something actually comes in, and then the phlogiston theory got kicked out. But this is what happens in science. We try to form the ideas, and as long as it works fine, then certain things come up which do not fit in the theory. So since its basis is empirical, we change the theory and expand it to make that fact fit in that. The wonderful example is the Einstein's relativity theory, how it augmented the ideas in the classical mechanics. It was an experiment where it was seen, the purpose of the experiment was completely different. It is very famous in the history of science, called Michelson Morley experiment. And there suddenly one very important thing came up, that the speed of light remains constant whether you measure it in the direction of the motion or opposite to the direction of motion, which fact could not be fitted in the classical mechanics. And so that theory had to be changed. What I mean is, this is all about real. What we call real is this. And then there is another phenomena, that is imagination, surreality. The other word in today's topic, surreality is not a word in dictionary. It is therefore, whenever I was working on it on computer, it put a red line under it, showing that it is not word in the dictionary. Yeah, but it is Being surreal, it doesn't matter, Surreal is the word, but surreality is not the word. But I had to coin this word, I had to use this word, whether in dictionary or not in dictionary. It is by usage many words get into dictionary. So, it is, what is this? It depends on another great faculty that we have, imagination. It relies on some non-sensory or extrasensory perception, and it is often termed therefore as unreal. It is, it is your imagination. It is not verifiable. If somebody says, I felt as if there is an elephant in this room, what will you say? It's your imagination. We agree you are a brilliant guy and so forth, but we don't see that elephant here. It is not here at all. If somebody says, in the room that I was staying, there was a ghost, and I met the ghost told me all these things, what will we say? Is it real? It is, your imagination. The ghost came in your imagination. We can't verify it. I mean, our senses cannot verify it. We cannot build anything rationally on the basis of those ideas that yes, there is a ghost here. I don't say that you are a liar, but it is what happened there. This went away, something else came. Okay, now it came here. So, Unreal. Good. So, it is. So, the imagination is a faculty that we all have. But yet it is not verifiable by somebody else. In fact, we ourselves, with our five senses, cannot verify it. It is something that is deep within maybe, but very hazy when you try to think of it through our senses and brain. Logic doesn't actually certify it. Logic cannot deal with those things. That, okay, there an elephant came in this room, you mean where from did it come? Think of it. It cannot just come through these doors. It's too big for these to come through these doors. Moreover, do we have elephants here in the city of Providence, and can it walk on the streets like that? No. So, did anybody else see? No. Do you see it now yourself? Well, I saw, but now I don't see. Then you say that, it is your imagination. And so, in our language, the word imaginary is kind of synonymous with unreal. It is unreal. Instead of saying that you are telling a lie, we say that, it was your imagination. So it is how we cannot say that it is a lie. It is only we cannot certify it, we cannot verify it, and so it is imaginary. Your imagination can do whatever. The one important thing is that the scope of imagination is immense. It is far, far more than the scope of what is called our perception of reality. The imagination is tremendously versatile than what we see, that what is real. Now, imagination, as one sees, that this what we call real, and what we call imaginary. The real, we refuse our sense of reality to be limited with what is called real, the sense perceptions. Because there are some difficulties that come about it. That this is pretty simple division. That which is perceptible to the senses is real. That which is not perceivable by our sense organs is unreal. It is a simple division. But it raises many questions as to the real. One thing is that what we call real keeps on changing, shifting, and thus, you see, it goes away. What I called real, when we subject that to analysis, then it shows that it was not really real at all. It is a matter of perception. For example, a magician shows many things. It is funny, the magician can do whatever, everybody gets deluded. Those who watch, they find it nothing incongruent except that how can such things be? From an empty hat, the fellow is bringing out so many things. It is a sensory perception, friends. Is it real? It is not. The perception happened, but those things were not real. It is, they might have brought so many $1,000 bills out of the empty hat. Well, they were obviously not real, otherwise the magician doesn't need to do the magic shows to earn money, you see. It is not real, but it appears to be real. There are so many deceptive sense perceptions. There is, you can see in our science class in this college, they used to show many things, that it appears but it is not there. It is, when you try to examine it with other sense, visually it is there, but it is not there when you try to, see it with, examine it with touch, verify it with touch. It is not there. Certain things are visually made so clear. I went once to see that famous panorama in Holland. It was the beautiful seashore there, where the fishermen's boats were there, and the pieces of torn rope and all that, so many things. It appeared to be so real that I thought of holding the rope. And there is no rope there. It is just painting. So, while one sense tells that it is real, another sense says that it is not real. All senses do not always work in sync, so to say, therefore it is not real. See, when you stand on the seashore, especially where there is fishing and all going on, you have a smell. Now there, if you are really standing on the seashore, you get that kind of visual, no doubt, but there is no sea smell there. So that tells you it's not real. It is, all senses are not synchronized here. So also, what you conclude on the basis of your sensory perception, when those senses get augmented by instruments, then your understanding changes. What you thought as real is not real. With our plain eyes, the moon looks to be pretty plain with some little a picture of a rabbit on it, that's all. It is, but when you see through telescope, you see the surface to be all very rugged with lot of peaks and valleys and all that. It is when you see the pictures brought by NASA or such, then you see that what you see by your eyes is not the same moon when we augment that with the instruments. When we look at the yogurt, we don't see any worms in the yogurt. Put microscope to your eye, and what happens? You see all the worms in the yogurt there. Now, are there worms in the yogurt or not there? If you see by the eyes, and we trust our eyes, that is the common feature that you see with human beings, we trust our eyes. In fact, the neurology tells that major part of our brain is connected to the visual sensation. That is why for human beings, seeing is believing. Not so with the dogs. For dogs, smelling is believing. Dogs do not recognize things by sight but by smell. So we see and say that, well, there are no worms in the yogurt. It seems completely clean. Put microscope to your eyes and you see all those little things just walking around there. So it is that is how our sense perceptions, they and the conclusions based on those sense perceptions keep on shifting and changing. Moreover, the criterion of reality is universality, you say. And that universality, we include only human beings, but there had been a trend recently much more. Why should we not include animals in that? We see, our senses certify, but what about, will the senses of ant will certify the same things? Our perception and the perception of ant will be at variance. So what is real for me is not real for an ant. It's amazing to see how in that old classic American novel Moby Dick, the author describes how the vision and other sensations of a whale are. It's beautiful, and really I was struck with so much wonder that at that old times, how could this author describe with such meticulous accuracy about the whales. And then you are struck with this, that, well, how different are the sensations of a whale. So maybe for most human beings this is real, but it is not a real world for a whale. The whale's world will be a completely different world. And so there the question of objectivity comes in. It is relative truth, relative to a human being, that's about it. And that too with normal sense perceptions. It is normal means, there are many who are color blind. Even two human beings do not have exact color perceptions. They vary in that. So what is normal is also a vague idea, but whatever our conclusions are based on these are valid only for human beings and not for other creatures. So therefore it is not objective really, it is just a relative reality. And so it is very doubtful whether it is real or not. And so therefore this question comes that this, what we consider as real, this is a universal experience, that it changes. And therefore what we actually perceive is not what the thing actually is, because the perception, our seeing itself, is taking away something from the object. The very process of seeing is distorting the object that we are seeing. This is an interesting idea that was brought to me when I was studying physics. And then it was told, well, this is real because you see it is real. And then it was really difficult at that time for me to accept and understand that when I was, that retort came, it is not real because you see it like that. It is firstly dependent on your vision. Second thing is, what you are seeing, look at the very process of how the organ of vision acts. Something from there, you can call it, say, these photons or waves or whatever, which was there, it has struck your retina, so it is no more there. Howsoever little it may be, there is a change. And our whole mechanism of sensory perception is that it perceives only change. It is geared to perceive only the change. And therefore, you see, it is not really real. It keeps on shifting and changing. By the time I describe that it is like this, it is already changed. I described what was, maybe, not what is. So, what is actually is becoming what was. What is real, by the time I finish the description, it is in the past tense, it was. So, what is real becomes an important question, that it is, there are so many contradictions that come about what is real. Most of the times we are not able to actually pinpoint or specify these contradictions, but everyone kind of feels those contradictions, and that gives rise to what is called Surrealism. This name Surrealism is rather modern, but the phenomena has been a very ancient phenomena. That idea is very ancient, that we are not, there is no satisfaction with what is real, and therefore one starts looking for something different, something more to it, that there is some lacuna there. It is not absolutely true. There is something more to it. But since it cannot be rationally presented, it cannot be philosophically put out, one takes the route called art. Art depends a lot on imagination. It is. So in art you find, and there is a school of art, that school got developed later, but Surrealism, that's Salvador Dali and all, but that is the school of the painting. But in literature also you see, much before that, in the fairy tales and all, you see that how these things are surreal. It is that the word surreal is also therefore used in English language for something that you suddenly come across and it is unbelievable. Then you say it is surreal. Like the delicate arch you see in that Utah, you have that delicate arches. So you see how it is so wonderful. It appears to be, cannot be done by human agencies. So it appears to be surreal. It is very difficult to explain. There the word is used that it is real, but it is surreal, that it is unbelievable. So that is how imagination becomes therefore an important tool. What we call imaginary may be unreal. But the fact that imagination is with everyone is a real fact. It is real. We all have imagination. Isn't it? All will agree that we have this faculty of imagination for real. It is real. And it is with everybody, with all human beings, this faculty of imagination to lesser or more extent, but it is there with everyone. It is also unstoppable. The senses can be stopped. I can cover my eyes. I can plug my ears. Try to plug imagination. Not possible. Plugging the imagination is not possible. Try. We may not be able to give reason immediately, but like many things that Freud analyzed and deeply studied, this was one of the things, that study of this imagination, that this imagination, and therefore what happens with imagination is called daydreaming. Daydreaming is, everybody does it. Freud found out, and it can be verified by anybody, that, and in that sense it is real, that because it is verifiable, that imagination and daydreaming therefore cannot be stopped. It has to go on. Even though we understand that, oh, that's waste of time, waste of energy, I better stop it. It is not possible to stop that. We may just again get into an imagination that, yes, I have stopped daydreaming. One can daydream about stopping daydreaming. It is so ingrained. And what is the idea? Why does it happen? And Freud gave an answer, that it is the desires, unfulfilled desires, and they try to find out by escaping this what is reality into another world where those desires may find fulfillment. And since desires can never be stopped, the daydreaming also never stops. The desires, we try hard to fulfill our desires. Why is this not possible? See, the smoke of desire, as you see in this picture, keeps on rising. Where is the fire that is making this smoke? And, well, with up to this, Freud could help us, and not beyond. Freud pointed out this cause, that this is why one daydreams. He showed, therefore, that the creative writings are really manifestation of this process of daydreaming. You give a vent to it in the form of creative art. So creative writers, you see, they give a lot of scope to imagination. One very important feature with this is it does not get completely cut off from reality. It builds on reality and escapes, without leaving the reality. It tries to carry something real and builds a big edifice of imagination around that real. Otherwise, it will not stand, it is not possible. It will become then dream. It will not be daydream. In daydreaming, this is a very big difference between daydreaming and dreaming. That in daydreaming, we are still very much aware to a great extent of the surroundings that we are in. And yet the daydreaming comes, okay, maybe my boss in reality is angry with me. And then I daydream. My boss became so happy with me that he recommended me for double promotions. Actually, he was giving me demotion. But in daydreaming, now what is there? The boss is real. The boss is giving me demotion, that is real, verifiable. But the daydreaming starts with this verifiable fact that yes, but suddenly something happened and then the boss became so pleased with me, and you start daydreaming. In fact, he resigned his position and put me there, and so forth. You can think of it. There is no limit to it. It reaches in a very quick time the infinite height. And then, since it is after all daydreaming, it just comes down with a thud. That is why one comes down with a big thud. It is called by the psychoanalyst as it is cramp. It is a psychological cramp that you get there. That it is like a muscle that gets, contracted but to do some work and doesn't get to the normal relaxed position. Then it is cramp. Now this mental cramp comes when you are in that state of daydreaming, and thus you fall down. But again, although you are having this pain of fall, you are hurting, still you cannot stop daydreaming. You try again. You try again. Even though there is no hope of escaping reality, the desires are there, and therefore you cannot stop it. Now, this route of escaping the prison of the senses using imagination, that is what the artists have done. You can see that many pieces of art, creative art, there is some reality to it, but they go in a different direction. I have chosen some pictures here to describe that there is a reality and not a reality. It is, you can see it in writings, in visual arts, and although this is going on, the philosophy could be modern, but even in this ancient literature, you will find this very idea of escaping the domain of senses, prison of senses. One realizes at one time, that is a very happy, productive moment in one's life, that our senses are really our prison. It is, we are imprisoned by these senses. They are not our instruments. We are deluded to think that they are our instruments. They are actually a prison that we are caught in and are not able to escape. So, this art becomes a root, music, paintings, literature. In various ways, we can say that these things come. It is, for example, you can see this beautiful painting, a very nice artwork. It is Brad's self-portrait. Now when Brad looks with these eyes to himself in a big mirror, the image is not like this. There are some similarities, that's about it. You can see Brad right here, he is sitting, He doesn't look exactly like this. But there are some similarities that he is sitting here. So you can watch, you can look. Take a look, right in the last row he is sitting there. In fact, when I saw his picture, in his dear wife's office at Brown University, then I asked, hey, this is a very interesting picture. Can I get a copy for this lecture? And so I got it. I did not give her the time when I will be ready for this kind of lecture. But she was very kind. In fact, Brad was very kind to let me use it. Many thanks, Brad. It is that this is, now is it Brad's picture? Yes and no. It is, you see, it has some similarities, but lot of imagination is there. That, for example, that hand made of, wood. It is not that he has a wooden hand, but that is how he sees that, this is how I am. When that real thing gets augmented or added with imagination, then you come up with this. This is a way actually to escape this prison of senses, that I am not just what I see in the mirror. There is more to me than that. So this is, you see many such paintings, many such ideas which show that one wants to get over the senses. It is in many literature. I had given some time back a lecture on boarding the train at platform 9 3/4. It is a very good example of surrealism. You don't have on our train platforms platform number 9 3/4, but that is the idea that is put in famous Harry Potter's book, that Harry Potter has to board the train to that wizard school, to go to the wizard school. But where to board this train? Well, you have to board it at platform number 9 3/4. So it actually has a deep connectivity with the limitations of senses, therefore limitations of logic and limitations of mathematics. So it is a way to escape this world of senses and go deeper. We see a very famous piece of literature. It is this Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland. And it is so amazing a book, an example of how, it is this cat is now there it is, and there is lot of conversation that goes with the cat. I don't know if you can read from that distance. Probably the lettering is too small, isn't it? Can you read? You can read. Okay, very good. That I have removed lot of words, but it is the cat tells to this Alice that, okay, yes, you'll see me there, said the cat, and vanished. Alice was not much surprised at this. She was getting so used to queer things happening. While she was looking at the place where it had been, it suddenly appeared again. Then things, some conversation went on between them. I have not quoted it here. I thought it would about that pig, it is turning into pig, said the cat, and vanished again. The point is, it is coming and vanishing. Alice waited a little, half expecting to see it again, because it had seen it appearing again, so it was expecting it will come again, but it did not appear. And then she moved somewhere, and there was that cat again, sitting on a branch of tree. That is the picture there at that, sitting on a branch of tree. And then after some other conversation, Alice tells the cat, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddy. What is in our brain thought of as real and what we perceive, now there is a mismatch, and that makes us feel giddy. So don't do it so suddenly. If it happens slowly, we get some breather to adjust to the new situation. So it is like the lights from the dark, this thing, you come suddenly in bright sunlight, then the eyes are dazzled and you feel dizzy also. So it is like that, Alice said, you should not do that. All right, said the cat, and this time it vanished quite slowly, beginning with the end of the tail and ending with the grin, which remained some time after the rest of it had gone. See, this is how much imagination is playing and how real it is appearing because of the skill of the writer. That actually there was therefore that Cheshire cheese, which I read, it was like this cat, Cheshire cat cheese, that it was always cut from the tail, and then almost everything is eaten, this face just remained. So it is, the grin remained. It was such a stunning thing, the grin remained. And Alice exclaims, well, I have often seen a cat without a grin, thought Alice, but a grin without a cat? It is the most curious thing I ever saw in my life. Exactly. It is a very queer thing, but that is how the artists, they try to break this prison of so-called sense reality and go deeper. And why are we talking about it at Vedanta Society? Here, we meditate, isn't it? Tommy, do you meditate sometimes? Yeah, here we come meditate and all that. Actually, meditation is the highest expression of Sur-reality. It is also a scientific in this sense, an attempt which is directed to the ultimate goal of life, that you break this prison of senses and mind, the prison of ego, prison of that wrong self-image that I am so and so. And this has to be shattered if we want to be really happy in this life, if we really want to be free in this life. In prison we cannot be free. In prison we cannot be happy, especially when these senses are giving us lashes every now and then. There is no happiness in this sensory world. So what to do? One can escape here and there through art, but again you come back, you are pulled back into this prison of senses. But meditation takes you to a stage where this all your desires, which power this daydreaming, these desires are told. One is told how to fulfill all these desires. There will be then no desires. When no desires, you are then happy. It is desire means you are wanting something. Desire makes us unhappy. Whereas when we are taken to a realm through meditation, what meditation does? You focus on your real desire. You learn what is your real desire. Like all of you said, agreed that we want freedom. Is there anybody who says, I don't want freedom? Impossible. We all love freedom. We all want to be happy. We all want peace. But what we do to get happiness lands us in something opposite of that. That is called misery. Because the very fact that our idea of what our desire is incorrect. It is a wrong idea. It becomes, therefore, whole life becomes an exercise of trying to catch the horizon. What happens is, you see that there is a house where that horizon you see. Now you start going there. You say that it is about 3 miles. I can walk there or I can drive there and there will be horizon there. You reach the house, but horizon has moved away. That is what we get, the things that we chase. But the happiness that we associate with those things, that eludes us. So, why does it happen? Because the happiness was always here. Happiness is our true nature. Our self is ever free. Our self is all pervading. The same I is in all beings. They like the 2 bottles, the bottles are different, water is same. Exactly like that, or the example that I many times gave in animal crackers. The different shapes are there. Substance, this self, the essence is same in all animal crackers. So think of ourselves as these animal crackers. In our true nature, in our essence, in our self, we are all same. And that is what all our imagination is directed to, this super truth. It is not sensory reality. It is not imagination either. But it is the truth that can never be falsified. It is unchanging truth. It is the source of all our desires. And thus, when we get that, you become truly happy irrespective of the situations. Otherwise, my happiness, and that too very temporary, is limited to whether Red Sox wins or loses or some such things, you see. It is not dependent on me, it depends on the situations. But now you have the source of happiness right with you, and thus you become really happy. You become happiness itself. And you see it in the lives of great sages, that they realize this truth. They realize the same one self in everyone, and that is how they gained that happiness. They became happiness. They became perfect. No desire there. Because perfection is there. No, what do you want anything more? If you want something, then you are not perfect. It is, you are perfect. And that is what all the Vedantic texts, as well as in other religions, you will find exactly same idea as Jesus mentions, be you perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. This is, friends, the goal. And the means is meditation. Carl Jung, a student initially of Freud, but who broke later on with Freud on this idea of libido and all that, it was not satisfying for him. He gave many great ideas in many of his books about this directed imagination that becomes meditation. The imagination, when directed to the truth, it becomes meditation. When imagination is directed to similar unreal things, well, it becomes a never fulfilled daydream. So, the daydream, when properly directed, that is meditation. So, this meditation leads us gradually to break the shackles of our senses and mind, and thus reach the ultimate truth about ourself, which is that I am everywhere, I am in everything, I am ever free, I am beyond time and space, and thus there is nothing for me to attain to. That is the idea in this Surrealism. And let us go to that Surreality where we will be fulfilled. Thank you very much, friends. Any questions? Oh, John, you have a question? Okay. Okay, John, come on, shoot.
Would you say that public opinion could be the most dangerous kind of unreality? That can be it could be like an epidemic to society?
Please repeat your question.
Would you say that public opinion,
Yeah.
following man's laws,
Because it is, I don't say that it is the most dangerous, or there could be more dangerous things. But public opinion, what happens there is mob psychology, mob frenzy. Therefore, it is sometimes called mob frenzy. A mob believes in something, a mob believes something, gets fired by that, and thus acts. It is terrible that with the mobs. So therefore, public opinion is something very dangerous. It is an imagination that could be dangerous. Yeah.
people believe, well, everybody else believes.
Yeah, that is, and yeah, exactly. And Naomi cites John, that John also believes this. And then John cites Charles. Charles also believes this. Charles cites this Abhijit. He also believes it. So nobody really, but everybody is citing the authority of the other person. That's it, That is mob. Yes, Charlie.
Sri Ramakrishna said he didn't like dry reason, but he liked. Sri Ramakrishna didn't like dry reason, but he liked devotion. But for me, reason is inspiring and meditation is dry. How do I overcome that?
Yeah, it is. There is, well, I have to use that word, reason for that. It is that the Sri Ramakrishna said, well, dry reason means that reason that does not lead you to the conclusion. Reason left to itself just keeps on moving in circles. And our lethargic personality likes that. So therefore, when we have to break through that, it certainly requires hard work. It is tiresome to meditate, therefore, initially. Meditation is a tiresome experience because we like our comfort zone of the senses. But when you learn to break through, then the joy you get is immense. Then nothing is more interesting, nothing is more joyous than to meditate. This is a transformation that happens. My story is not very different from you, dear Charles. It is, I too used to find meditating rather boring and cumbersome. But I don't know how much I have progressed, but certainly it is no more just mechanical, it is no more uninteresting. It is in fact the means of great joy to meditate. Yeah. So this transformation does happen. Yes, Raymond?
Yes, I was brought to mind the quote from Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge. And then Krishnamurti followed up that same thing, and he said that knowledge is always old. Without imagination, it's never taken new.
You are correct. Knowledge that what Einstein actually made, that his well-known equation about mass and energy, it was never logically derived. He got it in some kind of a trance, they say, that just saw. There is still no logical derivation of E equal to mc square. It is logically verified, but not logically derived. So it is true that even many scientists of old and new times, that famous example of that formulae of this organic compounds, ring compounds, it was something not known then. So they tried to fit the benzene as it is into these 6 carbon atoms, 6 hydrogen atoms, put them in just a straight line structure. But the scientists were so much disturbed by the stability of this benzene compound. With that kind of linear structure, it would be a terribly unstable compound. So they were worried as to what is the formula. Then it is said that one scientist, Kekulé, saw in a dream that the 6 atoms of carbon, they are in a ring, dancing together as it were. And so that gave him the clue that, oh, why was I stuck with only a linear style of formula? Actually, let me put it. And then it opened up the chemistry to such a great extent. So it was fired not by logic but by imagination. You are true there, you are correct. So, let us, I request Vishwanath to do the offertory, and I will read the upcoming programs for the week to come. Next Sunday, we have a very special guest lecture by a Sikh scholar and singer, Sarbpreet Singh. So Sarbpreet Singh is a poet, a Sikh scholar and a historian of this religion of Sikhism. So he will be presenting the important tenets of Sikh religion and philosophy, and also will sing that style of Sikh music. It is called Shabad. The Shabad means the word of scriptures. So he will be singing some of those songs. So you are all invited to attend that very special lecture on Sikhism and the music that goes with it. That is by Sarbpreet Singh. During the week, the Tuesday and Friday, well, classes will go on, not exactly as usual. The Tuesday we will have our regular class at 7:30 p.m. on Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. But on Friday, instead of my class on the Upanishad, what is that Upanishad? Shvetashvatar Upanishad. Thank you. So, Shvetashvatar Upanishad, instead of my class, there will be a video lecture by Swami Anubhavananda on the very same topic. So you can come and listen to that. It is, I will be away on that. I will be back here for Sunday program, but I will be away on Friday and Saturday. So, and then there is a spiritual retreat coming up, a day-long spiritual retreat, for which you have to sign up, and that Naomi can help you in signing up. You can sign up online as well. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. After that there will be the Arati, and you are all invited then to join the supper in the basement. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.